When Iraq War veteran Valerie Warner excitedly emailed her grandfather, a retired four-star general, about Defense Secretary Leon Panetta's historic announcement to lift the ban on women in combat, he replied, "I remain convinced that women are better at giving life than taking it." General Warner's poignant response, which the Washington Post recounted in a January 24th article, captures the flurry of debate triggered by the decision to alter decades of military tradition. Although military policy has always disqualified women from serving in roles at risk of direct fire, Panetta's announcement targeted the ban that the Department of Defense adopted in 1994 to officially prohibit women from joining units with ground combat missions. These gender parameters are significant because since 1950, the number of women in the armed forces has increased 12%, yet only 4% of all women hold leadership positions because most top-ranking positions are reserved for soldiers who have served in ground combat missions. Regulations and a lack of combat experience are not the only factors that have prevented women such as Valerie from advancing in the military. Culturally, the military is the most masculine of all social institutions. And within the most masculine institution, combat is considered the highest attainment. As a result, there is a socially and historically constructed tension between the female body and masculine combat tasks. In order to relieve this tension, previous military policy reduced women to bodies that perform their identities based upon cultural expectations. While it is expected that progressive women such as Valerie would applaud, and traditional men such as General Warner would scoff at the reversal of this military tradition, mainstream print newspaper coverage of the end of the ban on women in combat disciplined gender performance in the military by reinstating traditional gender stereotypes and by perpetuating myths surrounding the otherness of the female body. The Washington Post article continues the story of Valerie and her grandfather by explaining that General Warner joined the military out of a patriotic duty to his nation, while Valerie states that she enlisted because she admired her grandfather and wanted to be like him. The article frames the rest of their story as a comparison of the advice of an experienced war hero to that of a girl with a romanticized, naive view of military service. This perpetuates the myth of the rational man versus the emotional woman, to illuminate the otherness of female emotions. A focus on the otherness of the female consumed the content of the news media, especially with uncertainties about the ability of the female body to pass fitness tests required to participate in combat duties. Such an inquiry makes men's bodies the standard by which women's bodies should be judged and maintains a second myth of the protected woman versus the male protector. Another New York Times article complicates the issue further by proposing that the ban lift may trouble traditional training for combat missions. It explains that in military training, officials offer the female as the other that male soldiers are to defend and die for. Even the motherland that they fight for is gendered female. The rhetoric of the press not only suggests that female bodies are wrong for combat duties, but also that women disrupt a traditional motive for war. As one Washington Post article highlights, what begins as a debate over who can carry guns, to do what, and where, becomes a discussion about what it means to be a man or woman in the United States. While Valerie's initial excitement over the ban lift for women in combat seemingly represents a progressive triumph over sexism, the frank response of her grandfather and even the mainstream news media squelches her delight by returning to long-standing mythologies to talk about gender. Ultimately, the media makes Valerie and all women look like little girls merely playing soldier amongst the nation's real heroic warriors.